Good afternoon, student. This is the lecture number 28 of unit number 3, that is alloy steel. In the previous lecture, we have studied different factors affecting the on the steel by the addition of alloying elements. Then classification of the steel. In that we have studied HSS steel, then high speed steel, then Hatfield steel, manganese steel. Okay, and in addition to that we have studied the composition of the steel, then heat treatment performed on the steel, and applications of the different types of steels that we have covered till now. Okay, so today we will have to study the surface treatment performed on the HSS, that is high speed steel, in order to increase the different properties or desired properties. Okay, in that first heat treatment process or surface treatment process performed on HSS is chromium plating. Actually, that chromium plating we have revised in the last lecture also. That chromium plating, chromium is there will be a coating of chromium on the surface of the steel component. Okay, basically that HSS is used for the cutting steel or cutting tool steel. Okay, so the plating of steel chromium means what? A thin layer of near about 0.02 millimeter will be pasted on the cutting tools in order to increase the cutting ability as well as life of that cutting tools. Okay, so this is a process of electrolytic deposition, means by the process of electrolytic deposition a chromium from a chromium acid bath at a high current density. Means by using high current density we will have to coat a thin layer of what? Chromium from chromium acid bath will be coated on the HSS tools. Okay, in this process a hard chromium surface of about 0.02 millimeter thickness is deposited on the surface. Okay, then next is the electrospark machining. Before that we will have to see one video related to that chromium plating.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम है प्रातीश बंसल और मैं दिल्ली को
This video okay. This is the actual process of chromium plating. This is similar to a spray painting, but in most of the cases there is a chromium bath or chromium acid bath is provided there, and whatever the steel we will have to uh, we will have to coated on the cutting tools. Okay, then next is a electrospark machining. In that case the removal of machining, direct removal of material from the workpiece. Okay, this is a process used to directly cut material by electrolytic machining. Means by electrolytic machining we will have to remove the material directly from the workpiece, and this process produce accurate surface and is used for producing a very fine surface. Okay, so this is the electrospark machining. Okay, for that electrospark machining also we have one video for the electrospark machining that we have also Understood? This is the electrospark machining. Actually in the video the machining or removing the material from electromachining processes takes place, that we have all studied. Okay, then next is the cyaniding. Okay, the cyaniding heat treatment process or surface treatment process performed on the HSS. The low temperature cyaniding is applied to high speed steel tool after these have been fully heat treated and machine finished. Okay, the cyaniding is carried out at a temperature of 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. The gas cyaniding is most suitable method because it is simple in performance and does not involve the use of poisonous substances. Okay, that's why it is a some dangerous free or pollution free. Okay, it is also cheap and suitable for mass production. That cyaniding process is a cheap and suitable for mass production. It increases the tool life 1.5 to 2 times than the other other heat treatment or surface treatment processes. Okay, it is advisable on gear cutters, broaches, screw taps, wrist tools or wrist drills. Okay, so this is the cyaniding heat treatment process or surface treatment process performed on the or on the HSS tool. Then next is sulfiding. Okay, it is a recently used method for increasing the tool life. In this process, the finished HSS component such as a tool, cutting tools, carbide tools are heated in a sulfur component at 500 to 600 degrees Celsius. Sulfur component. The surface layer of tool absorb sulfur and tool life increases. Means what in the surface treatment we are doing, just the finished HSS component, means whatever the component we have manufactured, that component is deep into sulfur, heated in a sulfur compound. Okay, at 500 to 600 डिग्री सेल्सिअस. तर जे सरफेस लेअर काय करते याची आपले एच एस एस कंपोनंटची, दॅट विल absorb the sulfur and tool life increases due to the decrease in the coefficient of friction. Means by the deposition of sulfur layer on the component, the coefficient of friction between tool and workpiece will become decreases. Okay, understood? It is recently used method for increasing the tool life, and as the coefficient of friction is less, the heat generation at tool chip interface will be less, and that's why the tool failure will decreases, and hence the tool life also increases. Okay, understood? See here again, what exactly sulfiding process. In this process, the finished HSS component, that component means what, HSS tools, that HSS tools are heated in a sulfur compound. Okay, at 500 to 600 degrees Celsius. At that temperature, the sulfur layer of tool absorb the sulfur from the sulfur compound, and tool life increases due to decrease in the coefficient of friction. Is it? Finishing. Then surface finish of tools decreases the coefficient of friction and increases tool life. Surface finish of tool decreases, means suppose we have performed surface treatment मध्ये one of the treatment is finishing of the HSS tool. By the finishing of the HSS tool, what will happen? Coefficient of friction decreases and increases the tool life. The different operation used for increasing the surface finish of tool are honing and lapping. In the MP2, that is manufacturing process 2, the metal removal process or surface finishing process, you will have to study the means various surface finishing treatment performed on the different component, that is honing and lapping. These are the two surface treatment processes. Surface treatment means for the surface finishing of the component. Okay, now this unit is basically theoretically fully theoretical. The unit number 1, unit number 2 and unit number 5, these are the conceptual based units. Okay, means in first unit we have studied the various crystal structure, coordination number, coefficient, atomic packing factor, then the plotting of the cooling curve, different types of cooling curve, then lever rule. Okay, means these are the conceptual base. Secondly, also iron carbon equilibrium diagram, then various invariant reactions occurring in the iron carbon then critical temperature, cooling of the steel containing certain amount of the carbon from higher temperature to room temperature. These all are the first, second, and in the fifth unit, heat treatment processes. Means first, second, and fifth unit are the conceptual based, and unit number second, third, fourth, and sixth. These are the theoretical, fully theoretical. From the starting of the unit number 3 up to the in the last slide, we have studying fully theoretical. That will not be a conceptual based. You can uh, generate your own concept and kept in mind. Okay, that is the different parameter related to each and every student. Okay, so one important topic that is remain in this alloy steel, that is the different alloying elements and properties of the alloying elements. Okay, that we will have to study. What are the different properties of the alloying element, that we will have to study. First, we will have to understood why we are adding the alloying element into the steel. Okay, that is the important parameter. Means by the addition of different basically the different alloying elements has a different properties. प्रत्येक अलॉइंग एलिमेंटकडे काय त्याची एक इंडिव्हिज्युअल प्रॉपर्टी आहे, आणि बाय द ॲडिशन ऑफ दॅट अलॉइंग एलिमेंट इन टू द स्टील, द पर्टिक्युलर प्रॉपर्टीज we can improve or we can increases. Okay, for that parent material, is it? So that's why by adding different alloying elements in the steel, we will get the different alloying steel, and that alloy steel will shows the properties such as the alloying elements. Means the whatever the alloying elements we have added in the steel, that property is shown by the alloying steel or alloyed steel, is it? So out of that, the uh, first alloying element is a nickel. Okay, so the steel contain 2 to 5% nickel, and from 0.1 to 0.5% carbon, increases its strength and toughness. Basically, in the steel we add 2 to 5% nickel, and by the addition of 2 to 5% nickel, what will happen? And in addition to nickel, 0.1 to 0.5% carbon, its strength and toughness will increases. And we know that every component manufactured from the steel, it must be possess, or it must possess the strength and toughness for the application as well as the functional point of view, is it? Means that component manufacture from steel which is having nickel, that will be apply means use anywhere industry as well as engineering applications. Okay, that's why that component must possess the strength and toughness. That's why we will add the nickel in between 2 to 5%, having 0.1 to 0.5% carbon. Okay, then in this range, nickel contribute a great tensile strength, yield strength, toughness, and forming properties. That tensile strength is must, yield strength and toughness are also compulsory. Now, forming properties means what? When we perform some metal forming processes such as cold working, hot working, coining process, then the wire drawing process. For that purpose, that steel must possess the forming properties. Okay, then hardness with a high elastic limit, good ductility, and good resistance to corrosion. Okay, so these all the properties will be provided by the nickel by the addition in the steel. Okay, it has nearly zero coefficient of expansion. Coefficient of expansion is related to the uh, deformation while metal forming processes. Okay, so as we are performing any metal working process, and after the complete manufacturing of any component, suppose there will be any kind of coefficient of expansion, then there will be some deformation in the component will takes place. Now in order to provide or in order to prevent that deformation after the finished component, after the manufacturing of the finished component, the deformation must not be there, so that we will have to select such alloying elements which will prevent the coefficient of expansion property, or which will neglect the coefficient of expansion property. That's why the nickel which possesses the zero coefficient of expansion, therefore it is in great demand for making measuring instrument for everyday use. Now I have given one example of platinum and iridium alloy. Okay, that alloy is used for the manufacturing of the standard measuring instrument, and that standard measuring instrument are used for the calibration of the other or secondary measuring instrument. Okay, in the grocery shop, ज्याला आपण म्हणतो किराणा दुकान, तिथे आपण वेइंग मशीन्स पाहिल्या आहेत. in old days or some means nowadays also few shopkeeper owners have using the equilibrium balance. Now equilibrium balance are totally adolescents. Okay, but nowadays digital weighing machines are used. Okay, so that digital weighing machines are having one load cell. That load cells gives the a specific weight of any component which we will place on the platform of the weighing machine. Okay, and it will indicate the exact weight of that component. Okay, now after few days what will happen, there will be some deformation occur in that load cell. Okay, and that because of that there will must be some error in that weighing machines. Okay, and that in order to prevent that error or eliminate that error, we will have to calibrate that weighing machine with the standard instrument. Okay, so that's why that standard measuring instrument are manufactured by using the platinum iridium alloy. एक्झॅक्टली काय सांगायचं आहे की जे स्टँडर्ड इन्स्ट्रुमेंट आहेत, स्टँडर्ड मेजरिंग इन्स्ट्रुमेंट, त्यामध्येच जर डिफॉर्मेशन आलं तर मग कॅलिब्रेशन कसं होईल. म्हणून जो प्लॅटिनम इरेडियम आलो आहे की ज्यामध्ये काय आहे की थर्मल एक्सपान्शन नाही राहत किंवा त्यामध्ये कसल्याही प्रकारचं डिफॉर्मेशन होत नाही ॲट एनी टेम्परेचर, ॲट एनी वेदर कंडिशन. बरोबर आहे. म्हणून काय केलं जातं की जो स्टँडर्ड मेजरिंग इन्स्ट्रुमेंट आहे ते प्लॅटिनम आणि इरेडियमपासून मॅन्युफॅक्चर केले जातात, आणि सेकंडरी मेजरिंग इन्स्ट्रुमेंट जे आहेत ते मॅन्युफॅक्चर करायसाठी हा जो निकेल आहे अलॉईंग एलिमेंट तो स्टीलमध्ये ॲड करून त्याच्यापासून सेकंडरी मेजरिंग इन्स्ट्रुमेंट मॅन्युफॅक्चर केले जातात. बरोबर आहे. म्हणजेच काय, त्यामध्ये कसल्याही प्रकारचं डिफॉर्मेशन येणार नाही बिकॉज ऑफ द झिरो कोइफिशियंट ऑफ एक्सपान्शन ऑफ द निकेल. ओके, then next alloying element is a chromium. It improves the corrosion resistance. We have already studied that about 12 to 18% chromium will be added to steel. Okay, it will form chromium oxide layer on the surface of the component and prevent the oxidation of the surface of the component. Okay, it increases the tensile strength, hardness, wear resistance and heat resistance by the addition of chromium. Now it provides a stainless properties in a steel. Stainless properties means what? Corrosion. It prevents the corrosion. Is it? The chromium nickel steel is extensively used for motor car, crankshaft, axles and gear requiring great strength and hardness. Means the steel which is having chromium in the range of 12 to 18%, which is used for the manufacturing of the crankshaft, axle, gear, specially which requires strength and hardness. Is it? Means the internal combustion engine parts such as crankshaft, axle and gears. Okay, these are manufactured by using steel which is having a chromium. Then chrome steel is used for ball, rollers and racers of the bearing. In the bearing we know that the rollers and balls, racers are used. Okay, you have seen bearing in the fans then the wheels of the bicycles as well as the cars. Is it for the that what is the function of the bearing to support the rotating component, जो मोशनमध्ये किंवा रोटेशनमध्ये कंपोनंट याला एक सपोर्ट करणं मुव्हिंगसाठी किंवा टू केप्ट इन कंटिन्युअस मोशन. ओके, सो are you getting it? Why it is called as a it provides the stainless property? Because every component is having iron and some alloying elements, okay, in the steel. Then as we are using that manufactured component in any weather condition, and in atmosphere at moisture content is there, oxygen is there, by the presence of some moisture content as well as oxygen in the atmosphere, what will happen, the atmospheric oxygen combine with iron and form iron oxide, and because of that the rusting of component will takes place. But by the addition of chromium in 12 to 18% in the steel, what will happen, instead of forming iron oxide it will form chromium oxide, means iron particle will remain as it is in the component, and it will form chromium oxide layer on the surface of the component, and it will prevent the oxidation as well as rusting of the component. Is it okay? Then next is the tungsten. It increases the hardness, wear resistance, shock resistance, and magnetic reluctance. Magnetic reluctance means the magnetic properties. Okay, then it increases the hardness, wear resistance, shock resistance. It increases the ability to retain hardness, toughness at a high temperature. We know that the melting point of tungsten is very high. uh, the tungsten coil are used in the light bulb. Is it uh, as higher temperature, suppose we are using that light bulb for overnight, for what will happen, the coil must withstand the higher temperature. That's why instead of copper, aluminum, or some other element, tungsten is used in the light bulb. But after its certain lifespan of that light bulb, what will happen, uh, more longer time we have kept that light bulb in blowing condition. In that case, what will happen, that tungsten is directly converted to powder form. Is it? And why it will happen, it will not melted, because the melting point of the tungsten is very high. In tungsten inert gas welding, the TIG, MIG, TIG, that is tungsten inert gas welding and metal inert gas welding, you have studied in the MP1, that is manufacturing process 1. The regular student has studied that. Okay, in that case tungsten is used as a non-consumable electrode because the melting point of tungsten is very high. It prohibits the grain growth and increases wear resistance, shock resistance, toughness, and depth of hardening of quenching steel. Is it? And hardness of the tungsten is very high because it is hardened by quenching. The principal use of tungsten steel are for cutting tools, dies walls, taps, and permanent magnet. Is it? Because it has a greater hardness, uh, that's why it has a cutting ability, that hence it is used for manufacturing of the cutting tool, dies of the uh, different casting or different metal working instrument, then walls, tap, and permanent magnet. Okay, so this is the the use of the tungsten. Understood? Why tungsten is used as a cutting tool, dies, walls, taps, and permanent magnet? Because it has a higher hardness, greater wear resistance, shock resistance, toughness, and a depth of hardening and quenching of the steel. Okay, there are number of alloying elements are there, such as the vanadium, molybdenum, tungsten, then chromium, nickel, zinc, phosphorus, okay, aluminium, that we will see later on in the next lecture. So today we have studied different surface treatment performed on the HSS and the alloying elements. That alloying element topic remain from the unit number 3 that we are covering right now. Understood? The remaining alloying elements and the properties of the alloying element that we will see in the next lecture. Okay, thank you.